Hi guys, I just want to do a short presentation on how archaeology actually proves the Bible. From the big things from Noah's Ark to the Red Sea crossing, Mount Sinai and the Exodus story, to more recently the Dead Sea Scrolls and other artifacts.
In 1927, in the ancient Assyrian capital of Nineveh, a 33-centimeter prism was found, and it dated to 673 BC. It describes the history of the reign of King Esarhaddon, the son of Sennacherib. And on this prism he says this: he called up kings to transport building materials, and one of those kings he calls Manasseh, king of Judah. We see in 2 Kings 21:1 that Manasseh was the son of King Hezekiah, and Manasseh took Hezekiah's place and became king over Jerusalem. The Bible also mentions King Esarhaddon in 2 Kings 19, and confirms what the Babylonian Chronicle inscription said about him, that his father was killed and he took his place. We see once again that archaeology continues to back up the Bible. In 1968, archaeologists uncovered an amazing Bible archaeology find. They found a 5th century Byzantine church in Capernaum. But what makes this find so special is not the church, but what is beneath the church. And this will blow your mind. Byzantine architects built churches over places where activities of Jesus were remembered to have taken place. And under this church they found a square room dated to the 1st century. Graffiti in 5 languages as well as crosses were written on the walls. And most scholars agree that this find is the house of Peter the Apostle. Archaeology continues to back up the Bible. In 2002, an announcement was made on what could be the biggest Bible archaeology find in history. This find might just blow your mind. This bone box was brought forth, dating to the 1st century AD, and on it was this inscription: James, son of Joseph, brother of Jesus. Now the debate rages over its authenticity, many arguing that the inscription is a later forgery. But after careful examination, it was discovered that the limestone encrusted film that covers the box and the inscription both date to the 1st century AD, therefore verifying that it is indeed not a forgery. So this find backs up the Bible. This bone was found north of Jerusalem in 1968, and it backs up the Bible. This is a heel bone from the 1st century, and it was found in a bone box. And what's interesting about this bone is that there's a 5-inch nail through the bone, and attached to the nail is wood from an olive tree. Up until this time, skeptics were claiming that crucifixion could not be a real method of death because there is no archaeological support for it, and therefore Jesus could not have been crucified. But this archaeological discovery proves not only that crucifixion was a method of death, but that it was happening in the 1st century around the time of Christ, and therefore backs up the Bible. This stone was found in Egypt in 1896, and it backs up the Bible, which supports an earlier dating of the Exodus, which is what the Bible teaches. This is what the stone says: Canaan has been plundered in every sort of woe, Ashkelon has been overcome, Gezur has been captured, and Noahim has been made non-existent. Israel is laid waste, and its seed is not. Not only is this the earliest known reference to Israel, but it proves that Israel was established in Canaan by 1200 BC. Once again, the Bible is supported by archaeology. There's an ancient Egyptian writing that seems to talk about the plagues of the Exodus. It's called the Ipuwer Papyrus. It dates to the 13th century BC, and it talks about Egypt being in total chaos and ruin. But it has some very compelling parallels to the plagues of the Exodus. The papyrus says, "The river is blood. As you drink of it, you will lose your humanity and thirst for water." That parallels to Exodus 7:20, which says that all the water in the Nile turned to blood. Egyptians could not drink the water from the Nile. Ipuwer says, "Those who had shelter are now in the dark of the storm. The whole of the delta cannot be seen." Exodus 10:22, Moses stretched out his hand toward heaven, and there was a pitch darkness in all the land of Egypt for 3 days. There are many more parallels. As with everything in ancient history, these things are debated. I believe this find gives a compelling case for what we find in Exodus, and I believe it backs up the Bible. In 1947, something was found that destroys the arguments of skeptics against Jesus. Skeptics long argued that Isaiah 53 had to be written after the crucifixion, because the parallels of Isaiah's suffering servant and the crucifixion lined up so well. But in 1947, it all changed. Dead Sea Scrolls were found, and within the Dead Sea Scrolls was the entire book of Isaiah. It was dated from 350 BC to 230 BC, hundreds of years before Jesus. The rest of the Old Testament was found too, all dating to hundreds of years before Jesus. All the messianic prophecies were written before Jesus. Therefore, this find backs up the claims of the Bible. In 1868, archaeologists found this, and it backs up the Bible. It's a 4-foot stone that dates back to 850 BC. It is written by Mesha, king of Moab. Mesha is mentioned in 2 Kings 3. This stone confirms that Omri was king of Israel. Mesha was oppressed by paying Israel tribute. This is mentioned in the Bible. The stone mentions the men of Gad, and Gad was one of the 12 tribes of Israel. The stone also mentions the God of the Bible, Yahweh, and confirms locations that are in the Bible. The Bible is history, it's not a fairy tale. In the city of David, there's a tunnel. It was discovered in 1625 and explored in 1838. And this tunnel leads from the Gihon Springs to the Pool of Siloam. This is Hezekiah's tunnel. It was dug when Jerusalem was preparing for a siege from the Assyrians, and it is talked about in several places in the Bible, one of which is 2 Chronicles 32:30. It says, "This same Hezekiah also stopped the water outlet of Upper Gihon and brought the water by tunnel to the west side of the city of David." And once again, archaeology backs up the Bible. Archaeologists found this in 2009 and it backs up the Bible. It was a seal found in wet sifting in Jerusalem. And on the seal there was writing. And on the side of the seal what appears to be a fingerprint. And the writing on the seal says this. In the middle line it says belonging to Isaiah. And the bottom line says prophet. What makes it even better is it was found 10 feet away from another seal. And this seal was the seal of King Hezekiah, king of Judah. The prophet Isaiah and King Hezekiah appear together in 16 verses of the Bible. This is the seal of the writer of the book of Isaiah that is in our Bible. In 1993, archaeologists discovered this. It's a stone with an inscription in Aramaic, dated to the 9th century BC. This is the Tel Dan stele. Until recently, it was commonly believed that the existence of David as a man and a king was simply a myth made up by the Jews. But this stone makes mention of the house of David. In the ancient Near East, the phrase "the house of" was a reference to a ruling dynasty. And so this artifact proves that King David was real. In 1961, a stone was found while investigating the area of an ancient theater. And on that stone was an inscription. And it said, "To the divine Augustus, this Tiberium, Pontius Pilate, prefect of Judea, has dedicated this." If you didn't know, Pontius Pilate was the governor of Judea, as seen in Matthew 27:2. He presided over the trial of Jesus and ordered his execution. And this is even more evidence that the Bible is real history. In 1990, while constructing a water park, workers discovered a burial cave filled with limestone chests. And in the limestone chests were bones. And one of the chests had carved on it, Joseph the son of Caiaphas. And if we read in Matthew 26:57, it says, "Then those who had seized Jesus led him to Caiaphas, the high priest." Now because of the lavish decoration on the chest, they believed the bones inside to be the remains of Caiaphas, the high priest that accused Jesus of blasphemy. This is even more evidence of the Bible being historically accurate. Archaeologists just found something amazing in Israel that backs up the Bible. They found a lead tablet on the top of Mount Ebal. It dates back to 1200 BC. This was around the time that the Israelites were entering the Holy Land. And written on the tablet is this: "Cursed, cursed, cursed, cursed by the God Yahweh. You will die cursed. Cursed you will surely die. Cursed by Yahweh. Cursed, cursed, cursed." Not only does it say the name of the God of the Bible, in Deuteronomy 11, around the time the children of Israel were entering the land, verse 29 says, "And when the Lord your God brings you into the land that you are entering to take possession of it, you shall set the blessing on Mount Gerizim and the curse on Mount Ebal." So please tell me how the Bible is a fairy tale.